Great. So, hi everyone who has joined us. I'm here with Tamsin Hall, and we are going to start the webinar probably in a minute or two while we wait for some more people to join us. Great. We have some people coming in as well. So I'll start with just a short little introduction, and then I'll let our great host take it from there. So this webinar is, if you're new to our work, is hosted by Dyslexia. Okay, great. Um, it's hosted by the Dyslexia Association of London, and we offer webinars on a monthly basis. You can learn more about us on our website and also keep in touch for upcoming and past events as well if you're interested in watching any recordings. Today's webinar is Thriving at Work with Dyslexia, knowing your rights and also knowing to ask for what you need. We're very delighted to have you join us today for this empowering session. Whether you've been newly diagnosed or you're navigating dyslexia for years or seeking better ways to navigate dyslexia at work, this webinar is for you. And this webinar is hosted and led by neurodiversity coach and consultant Tamsin Hall. She has a great array of expertise and practical insights into supporting dyslexic adults in the workplace. So we're going to go together and explore to recognize common challenges, understand your rights, and how to confidently advocate for yourself in a workplace setting. So yes, I will hand it over to you. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat box. We're going to try to wait until maybe towards the end of the webinar, the last 10 minutes to get to all the questions. But if anything urgent comes up, feel free to let me know. I'm going to open the chat box in a second. And the recording for this webinar will be available on our website, like our previous webinars as well. And I will hand it over to our host now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Grace. And apologies for the noise. I was trying to mute myself because
No
my dog was
worries.
barking, and then I muted you as well. So
No worries at all. I got the little notification. It's fine.
oh, sorry about that. Isn't that always the way that you start a webinar, you start something, and then there's a knock at the door? So hopefully my dogs will now behave. So apologies for that. Okay, welcome. So just imagine this for a moment. You are brilliant at your job. You're creative, you're dedicated, you're always thinking outside the box. But every Monday, your anxiety spikes just thinking about the mountain of unread emails and the meeting notes that never quite make sense following long meetings. You've always struggled with reading and spelling, but maybe you've never had a formal diagnosis. And you start to believe that perhaps you're just not good enough or organized enough for your role. And then one day you finally mention to your manager the struggles that you've been facing, but they just shrug and say, well, unless you've got a diagnosis, there's nothing that we can do. And you start to feel stuck, isolated, and start to dread coming to work. But here's the thing, you are legally entitled to support with or without a diagnosis. So today's session is going to be about making sure that you never feel alone or powerless at work again, whether you're diagnosed, whether you're undiagnosed, whether you're self-diagnosed. We don't have to wait for the piece of paper to ask what we need. And I'm going to hopefully give you tools and language and confidence to really thrive throughout this webinar today. So, hello and welcome. My name is Tamsin Hall. Absolutely, as Grace said, I am a neurodiversity consultant, coach and trainer. I am a dyslexic as well. I was diagnosed at 15. And I am super excited to be sharing with you for the next kind of 55 minutes, as much as I can cram into today. I've left a good chunk of time at the end for Q&A. So please do ask any questions. As Grace said, I'm here to help and support you. And I'm a real fan of quotes. And I've put a quote here from Richard Branson: my dyslexia has shaped Virgin right from the very beginning, and imagination has been the key to many of our successes. You can scan that QR code there. It will take you to my LinkedIn, and I share regularly on LinkedIn. I want people to take away good stuff. So what I've packed into today is hopefully lots of strategies and lots of things that you can take away and use. I want this to be a really good use of your time. And I do that on LinkedIn as well. So I'm always sharing tips and hints and things on there. So I'd love to connect with you over on LinkedIn. So what's today going to look like? Well, we're going to look at what dyslexia looks like at work. We're going to look at practical adjustments and strategies. We're going to look at how to ask for support. And then I'm going to go into a Q&A and also some resources for you. Now, as I've said, I am dyslexic. So you will see probably some spelling mistakes in this. I put everything that I put out into the world through various different processes. So various different spell checkers and tools to make sure that I get the spelling and grammar right. But there's going to be mistakes in there. So just a bit of a caveat there for you. So sorry about that if you see some mistakes in there. I truly believe that my written mistakes don't mean that I can't talk about kind of everything and I can't share some real goodness with you. So for a moment, I just want you to think about a cactus. And a cactus, when the cactus is in its natural environment, it is doing everything it needs. It has everything it needs to thrive. It has the really dry heat. It has the hot sunshine, and it's thriving. It's developing. It's growing. And if I take the cactus and I put the cactus in my back garden down in West Sussex, where it's normally cold and wet and windy, the cactus is not going to be thriving. Actually, what it's going to be doing is going into survival mode, and it's going to be anxious and depressed and just trying to get through each day. Whereas as soon as I understand what the cactus needs and I put the cactus in a greenhouse and I give it a heat lamp and I give it that hot, warm, dry air that it needs, he will be thriving. And I call him he because I take him to networking events with me, and he's called Fred. But once again, once I understand the environment that my cactus needs, he will be thriving. And it's exactly the same for us dyslexics and actually the wider neurodivergent community. Once we understand what that environment needs to look like, we will be thriving and we will be growing and we'll be developing. But if we're in an environment that doesn't give us what we need, it's just not going to be a very pleasant experience for us, and we're going to be in survival mode. So let's have a look at what dyslexia looks like at work. I'm sure you've seen this stat: 40% of self-made millionaires and billionaires are dyslexic. And I just want you to think about that for a moment, because isn't that just fabulous? Isn't that just huge? And I'm going to ask you in a moment what that means to you. And I'd love you to share with us all together here today, because personally, that shows me that we have so much to bring to the table, and so many fabulous ideas and ways of working and things. I just think that stat is fabulous. And I've got some more stats for you. So I do have a background in psychology, and I do like stats and I do like science. I personally believe for me to come and talk to you today and share about dyslexia and share about kind of all the great things that I'm going to be sharing with you, it's based on research. It's based on what people are saying. So some stats that to me around dyslexia I think are really, really key. There's about 10 to 15% of people that have dyslexia. So it's one of the most common learning differences worldwide. And around 1 in 10 UK employees is dyslexic. Now, that's diagnosed cases, and we know the wait lists for diagnosis can be, in certain parts of the country, can be long. And we know that there's a lot of people out there who are undiagnosed. Maybe they don't want to be diagnosed. Maybe they are self-diagnosed. Maybe they have no idea. So there's going to be people in your workplace, and there's going to be colleagues who around you are dyslexic. And dyslexic adults are twice as likely to be unemployed as others. And this is often because workplaces do not understand or support dyslexia. It isn't about just not being able to read. There's a lot more. And we'll talk about kind of those challenges, but we're also going to look at strengths as well later on today. And where I've put there made by it's made by dyslexia. I just kind of tried to condense the words so the lines all fitted. If you want any of these links to these studies, please do let me know and I will happily send them out to you. So 73% of dyslexic employees say simple changes at work help a lot. And these are things like assistive technology or flexible working can make a real big difference, but it can be simple, small things that really do make a difference. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of those accommodations and some of those things that are actually, they don't cost a thing. And it's just a little bit of awareness and a little bit of understanding. It can make such a difference to all of us. And over half of dyslexic adults say their strengths are overlooked at work. So strengths, and we'll look at them in more detail at the moment, but strengths such as creativity and problem solving, it's overlooked. And I know for me, it's taken me years and years to look at my strengths over my challenges. So one of the things that I still don't know is my lefts and my rights. If someone says to me, you need to turn left, I will turn right. It's just an automatic. I just have no concept of what my lefts and my rights are. When I did my driving test, I had to put left and right on my hand. Some people say just hold your hand up and it will see it, that doesn't work for me. So I spent years trying to hide the fact that I didn't know my lefts and my rights. And I almost in my early career let it define me, and I hid away and I kind of masked hugely. And I think sometimes when we don't understand our strengths, it's so difficult to share them with others. And I've got some tools and some things that will help you to see what your strengths are and also help to identify kind of what they are. And then we can share them with other people. Once we know what our strengths are, we can share them. And then I find this, some of these stats I find quite sad. And this one I find quite sad because only 41% of dyslexic employees feel safe telling their employer. And with the work that I do, I work across all neurodiversities through consulting, coaching and training. And this is something that comes up a lot, is the fear of sharing with employers. And I get asked the question, do you think I should share with my employer? Do you think I should tell them? And in all honesty, there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on your employer. It depends how psychologically safe you feel. It depends on them as an employer. Are they an employer who embraces neurodiversity and dyslexia? Do they weave it through everything they do? Or do we need to work a bit more with the employer to help them to show you that they are an employer who is understanding and supportive? So there's no right or wrong answer in that. But I would love to see this percentage, only 41% of dyslexic employees feel safe telling their employer. I would love to see that increase. And I'm trying to kind of beat that drum and fly that flag and really help employers to understand the benefits of dyslexia in the workplace as well. So, famous dyslexics. We've got Richard Branson, who talks openly about his dyslexia. He has done for years, and he's a real inspiration, I think, personally, around just helping us all of us dyslexics, to understand that, yeah, it's really, it helps us with all of our great strengths and all of the great things that we bring to the table. And then we have Steven Spielberg, Whoopi Goldberg, Jamie Oliver, Keira Knightley, Tom Holland, and Orlando Bloom. And who's seen the Jamie Oliver documentary? We're seeing, let me know if you've seen it. And I can't see the chat, but let me know if you've seen it, and let me know what you thought of it, because we are starting to see more programs, more films, more talk around neurodiversity and dyslexia, which is so reassuring. And I think the more that famous people or high level people in organizations are talking about their struggles, the bigger impact we're going to make. One of my clients said to me, she was sitting around a boardroom for a work conference or work meeting, and the head of the company was there. And there were some policy changes, and they said, "Oh, here's some policy changes," kind of quite a big document. The guy kind of passed them around and said, "Oh, can somebody read them out for me?" And everybody thought, my client said, "Oh," looking around the room, nobody wanted to read this out because there's big words in there and it's reading out in front of people. It's quite a large document. And the company owner turned around and said, "Okay," he said, "Look, I'm going to read it out to you. But I just want to tell you that I am dyslexic and I really struggle reading words. So it's going to be quite clunky. It's not going to flow. But I appreciate that I'm asking you to read a big document, and I'm going to read it because that's the right thing to do." And my client said she had tears rolling down her face as he was reading it, because yes, it was clunky, and yes, there were some words that kind of took him a moment to get right. But she said, "I've never felt so seen and so heard and so validated in my life." And I think we underestimate the power of people saying, "Yeah, I'm dyslexic. These are my challenges. I struggle to read. I know there's some words that I just cannot say. And if I'm reading them, I can't say them. If I think about them before I say them, I can't say them. But if I kind of just try and go with a bit of a flow and not put too much emphasis on the fact that I'm not going to be able to say this word, innovative is one of them, and I just have to think about it. But if I'm reading it, it doesn't come out, it doesn't work. But if we share about these things, because the more I talk about my lefts and my rights and the fact that I can't say certain words, and sometimes if I'm tired or stressed, I don't know how many of you have done this, I could be tired and stressed and I walk into the kitchen and I need to get something out of or put something in I walk into the kitchen sometimes and I say, "I need to put this in the fridge," but instead of saying fridge, I say, "Oh, this needs to go in the oven," because the words just don't come. And I think the more we share and the more we talk about these things, people say to me so often, "Oh my gosh, I do the same. I thought it was just me." And it's not just you. It's how our brains work and how our brains function, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. All of this. So the more we look at famous dyslexics, the more we talk about it internally in our organizations, and the more we empower and see our high level kind of CEOs, MDs, heads of talking about their struggles, it will help people throughout the organization to feel seen and feel validated as well. So, what does all this tell you? I'd love to know. Pop it in the chat. What does this all tell you? And how does this help you as someone who is dyslexic or someone who has someone who's dyslexic in your world? And I'll come back to them later, your comments, but I'd love to know. Grace, is there anything that is coming in the chat that is worth sharing or
Right
not
now
worth
we're just
sharing, but
talking
is?
about people who wanted to see the documentary. But yeah, otherwise, all good to keep going. And yeah, everyone
All
feel
right.
free to type in. You can type it in the chat box. It should be open to you all.
Fabulous, thank you.
Thanks.
Or even just have a think about it. Kind of, what does this all mean to you? Hearing famous people and hearing seeing these documentaries and seeing more things on TV at the moment. You've had Code of Silence recently. There was Patience. There's the films, The Accountant. That we're seeing more and more around neurodiversity being normalized, which for me is absolutely fabulous. And as I said earlier, for me, kind of this validation is, it just helps me personally and for my clients to realize that we have a place at the table. This isn't something that's really, really negative. This is something that once we can figure out how we can navigate through life and work and the world as a neurodivergent or dyslexic individual, it's absolutely fabulous. Life can be great. And that whole terminology around superpower and not superpower, I know some people absolutely cannot stand it being coined as kind of a superpower, and I totally understand the reasons why. I think when we're looking at dyslexia, we can hopefully see that we can still do great things being dyslexic, and we have a place at the table, and we have so much to bring. Okay. So I'm just going to touch on the common strengths of dyslexia at work, and then we're going to look at the common challenges of dyslexia at work. And I'm sure you already know this, but I think sometimes it's really useful just to have a reminder about what we can really bring and what our strengths are. So those creative thinking and new ideas, it's the problem solving skills, it's the empathy and the understanding that we have of others. And I've put others in there because a commonality that I see across my clients, and I've probably worked with about 1,500 neurodivergent individuals, so yeah, quite a few neurodivergent individuals. Um, we're very good at giving empathy and understanding to others. We might not be so good at giving empathy and understanding to ourselves. Seeing the bigger picture, we're really good at seeing the bigger picture. We're really good, there's that word, innovative thinking, visual spatial skills, and storytelling and communication. So many good things that we bring, and so many strengths. Now, this isn't a comprehensive list, so there'll be so many other strengths that you do bring to the table, and please do remember that. Please do remember what your strengths are. And then we look at the common challenges. So processing written information could be time management and meeting deadlines. I have to work by a paper diary. And if it isn't in my paper diary, it doesn't happen. So I have to put things in my paper diary. And I booked to go to an event, just to attend an event. And it was a networking event, and I booked in to go, I paid to go. And it was the third Thursday of the month. So I've put it in the third Thursday, which I thought was next week, but actually it happened yesterday. And it's things like that, just kind of getting that just slightly wrong. So I know that I have to go by dates rather than the third Thursday or the second Tuesday or something, because that just my brain can't figure that out. Memory, remembering the instructions. How many times have you been speaking to somebody? I do this all the time. I don't know where I'm going. How do I get to X, Y, and Z? Or I go into a car park and I'm going to an event or someone, and someone says, you need to do this. I'm listening to them. I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'm not hearing it. And it doesn't go in. And then I drive away or walk away and think, I've got no idea. Got no idea where I'm going. Spelling and grammar, also tenses. I'm horrendous with my past, present, and future tense. Organisation and keeping track of tasks, taking notes during fast-paced meetings, and reading aloud or presenting written information. So there's just some kind of common challenges in there as well. And if we think about spiky profiles, if anyone knows what a spiky profile is, you know what I mean here. If you don't know what a spiky profile is, head over to my LinkedIn, and I've got a newsletter that I write, and there's an article there about spiky profiles. But what spiky profiles basically are is that we have someone who's neurodivergent has challenges that are kind of quite low, but our strengths are really high. So it kind of gives us this bit of a spike. So if we look at processing written information, could be down here, time management could be down here. But then if we look at these, creative and thinking and new ideas would be up here, and then problem solving. So we get these kind of real difference between our strengths and our challenges. Whereas for somebody who's neurotypical, it could all be kind of in the middle slightly, but we have a more defined difference between our strengths and our challenges. So what's the impact of all of this? So it can lead to stress, it can lead to low confidence, it can lead to missed opportunities. And as we saw earlier with the stats, many dyslexic employees really thrive with simple adjustments and understanding. Now, dyslexia is not a lack of intelligence, and dyslexic strengths are absolutely valuable in the workplace. And that's supposed to say and at home, but it's just gone slightly off the page. So everywhere, our strengths are valuable and needed, and yeah, really important. So let's just have a look at the legalities for a moment. So dyslexia is recognised under the Equality Act 2010. And what this means is employers must make reasonable
Tamsin,
adjustments.
real quick, we just had someone ask if you could slow down when you're talking a bit so they can process a bit more.
Yes,
But
sorry.
no
Sorry,
worries.
of
Thank you
course
so
I can.
much.
Yeah, of course I can. I'm really conscious that I've got all this stuff that I want to give to you and share with you. And then I can see my clock kind of ticking down. So yes, I will do. Okay, so dyslexia is recognised under the Equality Act 2010, and employers must make reasonable adjustments to support dyslexic employees. No diagnosis is needed. It doesn't matter whether you have a diagnosis or not. What matters is the challenges that you are facing. And in simple terms, why does this matter? Because it protects you as the employee from discrimination. It ensures fair treatment, and also it really helps you to thrive at work. And from an employer's perspective, it's absolutely the right thing to do. As we saw with kind of my cactus example, once we support and we understand, we can thrive. And that's what, you know, we all want. So, okay. So I'm going to share with you a bit of a case study. I'm just going to take a quick drink before I do. And I'm going to read this. I've got it printed out and I'm going to read it. So meet Alex. So Alex works as a project coordinator in a busy marketing agency. They're creative, they're brilliant with ideas, and they are a real team player. But Alex always struggled with some aspects of her job, especially when it came to written reports, managing lots of emails, and remembering detailed instructions from fast-paced meetings. Alex often made small mistakes in emails and reports, which knocked their confidence. They felt really anxious about missing deadlines because it took longer to process and organise written information. Alex was reluctant to speak about their difficulties, worrying that colleagues would see them as less capable. The stress started to affect their sleep, their mood, and also their overall well-being. So Alex's employer noticed that there was some changes and some things that were going on, and they decided to offer a workplace neurodiversity awareness session to the whole company. So to understand what neurodiversity is, understand the strengths and challenges, and have a really good basis of awareness for everybody. And after the neurodiversity awareness session, Alex felt safe enough to talk to their line manager. So going back to kind of what I spoke about earlier around not just telling, but showing people that the environment is an inclusive environment and it's okay to share. And after Alex spoke to their line manager, they brought in me, a neurodiversity consultant. We completed a workplace needs assessment to really understand what was going on for Alex, what elements of her role were really challenging her, and where her strengths were. And I recommended some really simple adjustments. And I'll talk you through what I recommended now, and then we'll talk about them in more detail. So speech to text software for writing reports and emails. So speaking into rather than typing or writing. Templates and checklists for regular tasks. Meeting agendas and notes shared in advance and written follow-up afterwards. Extra time for proofreading important documents, and encouragement for everybody to use bullet points instead of long paragraphs. And also some dyslexia coaching as well to really help Alex with those kind of negative emotions that were coming up for her. And over time, Alex's confidence grew. She started contributing more ideas and even led a team project. And her written work improved and mistakes dropped. And Alex felt valued for her creativity and her big picture thinking, and not judged for the challenges that she faced. So stress levels dropped, and Alex reported feeling happier and more motivated at work. And the whole team benefited. The whole team benefited from clearer communication and a more supportive culture and more understanding. So this is something that can help and benefit everybody. So the takeaway: with the right support and understanding, Dyslexic employees, just like Alex, can really thrive. Simple adjustments and an inclusive environment don't just improve productivity, but it really helps with workplace well-being, happiness, and also help everyone to bring their absolute best to work. So let's dive in and have a real look at these practical adjustments and these strategies that will hopefully help you as you navigate the world and the workplace. So, what are reasonable adjustments? So, they are basically tweaks to how you work so we can all do our best. And there's going to be quite a lot of information on these slides. And if it's too much, please don't worry. There are always ways we can figure out what you need. Feel free to kind of take screenshots, and I've got some handouts at the end. So if you want any of these handouts at the end, just email me. I was saying to Grace earlier, I was trying to figure out how to kind of do a QR code. So then you scan the QR code and they got sent your email. I couldn't figure that out. So the best thing to do is just email me, and I'll send you some of this information as well. So some day-to-day adjustments and communication, screen readers, mind mapping tools, speech to text, spelling, grammar checkers. You can get all free options. There's paid options as well. But our dyslexic brains, we love visual things. We love to see visual pictures, colours. Mind mapping tools are great. And also that speech to text where we're hearing it rather than just reading it is really important as well. Wall planners, digital reminders, colour coding, clear to-do lists. And on the note of to-do lists, standard to-do lists might not work. They might work for a few weeks and then we get bored with them, or they kind of blend into the background. So really working through what those to-do lists could look like, what keeps you interested and motivated in your to-do list as well. So it could be a bit of variety, could be maybe a digital form, could be maybe a calendar blocking, could be maybe a written to-do list. Change it up, move it around a bit as well. So don't just stick to one thing. If you find yourself getting bored with a certain to-do list, move on to something else. If you have an awful lot of stuff on your to-do list, have a bulk to-do list and then have a colourful post-it note on the top of it with just 3 things to do, because that feeling of overwhelm can really stop us from moving forward. So having a colourful post-it note with just kind of three key things, then you can tick that off, screw up that post-it note, throw it away. You've got a bit of dopamine going in there because you've done it and you've thrown it away, and then look at your next few as well. So looking at workplaces, workspaces and environments, quiet spaces, anti-glare screens, flexible seating, coloured paper, coloured pens, as much colour as you can do. Our dyslexic brains, the black text on the white background can be quite challenging. So bring colour in, bring coloured overlays in. Maybe look at flexible hours. If I know, for me in the evenings, it's just not worth me doing anything. Whereas in the mornings, I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and get so much done because that's the best time of day for me. And then support, it's really important to ask for support, not just with the practical, but also kind of those feelings of self-doubt that might come up as well. So coaching, peer mentors, regular feedback, extra time for tasks and assessments. And just on that feedback, if you're somebody that suffers from rejection sensitivity dysphoria, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but rejection sensitivity dysphoria is a real intense reaction to rejection. So that could include negative feedback as well. So just be mindful of that. If you want some more information on rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is RSD, let me know. I've written a couple of things on it, so I can send that over to you. And then for communication, written and verbal instructions, clear deadlines, reminders, visual aids. So at work, asking for, and I've got some slides on how to ask for things, but asking for, can, if you've had a verbal conversation with somebody or verbal communication with somebody, asking them just to follow it up in bullets in an email for you can be really, really useful. Give one step at a time, so take it one step at a time, check understanding and follow up in writing. Also checking the understanding of other people. So I use the phrase quite a lot. So I've heard you've asked me to do XYZ, so I'm going to do ABC. Is that right? Just to check that we're on the same page and that I've understood it. And then completing your Neurodiversity Insights form. So that's this one, the downloads that I'm happy to send you. So Neurodiversity Insights form is a bit like a CV for your neurodiversity, so for dyslexia. And it looks at kind of what my strengths are, what my challenges are, what happens when I get stressed, and what I need for you, and how I need you to communicate with me. And by completing this kind of A4, it's an A4 document, it can be really useful for us to understand for ourselves what's going on and what we need. But also, if it feels right and if it feels applicable, you can share it maybe with your line manager. So often I hear people say to me, my line manager said, what can they do to help? And I don't know, I've got no idea. And so then the conversation stopped. Then the employee will go to the line manager, I don't know. The line manager goes, okay, let me know when you figure it out. And then that's it. No one does anything else. Whereas with something like a Neurodiversity Insights form, it's a document that you can then give to your line manager, say, actually, these are the things, this is what's going on for me, this is what I need. And that can help and benefit everybody if you feel okay to do that. And using audio instead of text or reading, discuss reports, discuss written information, and discuss tasks. So verbally discussing. Allow time for sharing ideas verbally, not just in writing. Ask questions about tasks out loud rather than written responses. If you forget names, so I'm terrible with names, and I always worry. I always think it's probably better that I don't get a name wrong rather than I don't say someone's name. Um, so I tend to, either if I'm training, I ask people to put their names on a piece of paper in front of them so I can see the name. But also photo prompts can be really, really useful. So I sometimes will print the photo or put the photo on a piece of paper and write their names underneath it and print it, because I like that visual. My brain likes the visual, and that can really help me to remember as well. Using my maps. So my maps are colourful, and you can literally just get a piece of paper, put the topic in the middle, and just kind of have lines going out of it, all in different colours. That really helps. If a system isn't working for you, use your innovation, use your ideas, and create your own way. This isn't a one size fits all. So there could be lots of different options if you just kind of take a step back and think, what do I really need here? This isn't working, so what do I need? So that could be quite useful. And if you're not sure of an answer, please don't feel pressured to respond immediately. Just say, I'll come back to you. You don't have to give an answer there and then. And having the courage to say, I'm going to take that away and come back to you, can be really, really beneficial. So, dyslexia-friendly fonts. These are dyslexia-friendly fonts. You've got Open Dyslexic at the top. And this is these are all free fonts, actually. You can get them anywhere. There was a place, there was a time when we used to have to pay for these, but now we can get them anywhere. This is designed specifically for dyslexia. Letters have heavy bottoms to help prevent flipping and swapping. And that's one. You have Arial, which is clean, widely available, simple shape, makes it easier to read. Comic Sans, often recommended because of its rounded, distinct letter shape. So it's less, it's easier for us not to kind of bop them all together. Veranda, which is wide spacing and simple, clear letter form. So in my presentation, in my my copy, I try and use Veranda as much as I can. But equally, sometimes, especially certain times of the day, if my eyes are tired or if I've been really busy, different fonts are my preference as well. Tahoma, which is similar to Veranda, good letter spacing, and Century Gothic, so rounded letters and generous spacing. So you can see there the difference between those fonts. What's your preference? And what do you use normally? Would you go in and change the fonts? And if not, I wonder what would happen if whichever of these your preference is, if you started doing that. How would that help? And for text formatting, use at least 12 to 14 points for body text. Bigger is better for readability. It means um, the lines kind of won't all blur into one. And use 1.5 line spacing and extra space between paragraphs. Dark text on a pale background, so not pure white is easier to read. So on my slides, I use a cream, not a white, and my text is not black. So it's a kind of a greeny bluey grey, but it's not black. And that does make a difference to me. So it's also something that I find a lot of my clients do much prefer, not the white background with the black text. Use bold instead of italics and underlining. So if at any point you think I'm going to use italics or underlining just to make the point, with the italics or with the underlining, it means that for some dyslexic brains, the letters just merge. Whereas with the bold, it just keeps it a lot clearer for us. And then avoid all caps. Not only can they be hard to read, but also it can feel like maybe someone's shouting at us. And then the layout, short paragraphs, use bullet points or numbered lists, align text to the left, never justified, and simple, predictable layout with plenty of space is dyslexic friendly. So how can you decide what to ask for? With everything that I've shared today, just ask yourself these questions, write them down, think about them, take a photo of this screen. But some questions for you. What would you like the sounds of that I've spoken about in terms of the strategies and the ways of working? What would you say your challenges are at the moment? And then maybe consider a neurodiversity insight form, or for more personalised support, a workplace needs assessment, and that's something through your employer would sort out. So how to ask for support? It's about being clear about what you need and why it helps you, using real examples from your workday, know your rights, but keep it collaborative. And we have got some sample conversation starters that I'll share with you. What to do if you're met with resistance. I've got a resource list that I'll share with you as well. And always give your HR team my details as well. And I'm happy to have a conversation with them. So some terminology here. So something like, I find written instructions tricky. Could we use voice notes or checklists? This will help me deliver my best. And how can we make this work together? So I know sometimes it can be really tricky to think about the words to say. I'd like to talk about some adjustments that could help me work more effectively. Here's what would help and why. And sharing that with your line manager or your HR team, if you feel that you can do that. If you hit resistance, stay calm, ask for reasons, and know you can seek advice. So you can always speak to HR. If you have a union, ACAS, we're always welcome to reach out and speak to me as well. So, quarter two, Q&A. Who has some questions for me?
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, the chat box is open for questions. So if anyone has any questions, we did get a question during if there would be a copy of this presentation. And yes, we'll make sure to share a copy of this presentation with everyone. I guess I can kind of start us off with a question. I would love to hear, like, based on your experience and the people you've worked with. Obviously, I think it's great when your manager understands neurodiversity or wants to support a neurodivergent um, I guess, mentee. But how do you kind of recommend like navigating that with someone who might not be as open to it? Um, Obviously, like we in the support group have talked about whether that's a good workplace or not, whether it's worth the fight. But I'd love to see if you have any other insights as well.
Yeah. It can be so tricky, and I've been in situations in workplaces, and of course a lot of my clients are in situations where employer just is not responsive and not supportive, and that's really hard. And that self advocacy can be tricky when we're already facing so many challenges as well. So it's, I would say, depending on employer, but seeing if you can get a awareness training session booked and scheduled so that people can have a bit more awareness of what neurodiversity, what dyslexia looks like, without kind of finger pointing. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but we need people to understand it from a broader, they need to see a benefit. So a line manager can be showing resistance for a number of things. Maybe they think it means that having this conversation is going to add to their workload. Maybe they feel like having this conversation is actually really difficult and they don't like having difficult conversations. Maybe they've got no idea about what they're going to be needed to do and support. And so I do a lot of work helping line managers to understand that support isn't time consuming, support isn't costly, support isn't something that is a conversation that we don't have to be scared of. And just self advocating, but finding also people who face the same struggles, who you notice are the same, and kind of have a bit of comfort in the fact that I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. And I would say talk to HR and ask them to do some awareness training is a really great first step, because the number of people and managers, and I do a lot of manager support, but manager training, the amount of times I've seen people's faces in training and they've gone, I finally get it. Okay, I now know I can have this conversation and I don't need to be scared of this conversation. And oh, I've got somebody in my team who I just know I've got all these ideas that I can help and support them with. And the power of that is huge. So I would suggest that. And if that isn't possible, keep asking them and showing them and saying, this is the challenge that I'm facing, but this will help, and almost educate them as well, which can feel a bit like, why should I have to educate someone else? But we just want to kind of sow a few seeds. They think, I want to find out more about this, I want to understand this a bit more, and then we can start with the conversation.
Great, thank you. And we had a question come in that says, I wasn't diagnosed until my 20s. And I think my difficulties with public speaking has developed into social anxiety. I now have to deliver talks as part of my work, but hate to do them. And they fill me with dread. And I'm a very anxious presenter. Do you have any advice for overcoming this?
It is, I hear you. I hear you. I can remember standing up and just, I don't know how I got through it. I felt like my voice was wobbling, and so I don't know, the person that's asked the question, I'm not sure kind of what element of the kind of standing up and talking it is. Is it the reading the screen? Is it the remembering what to say? Is it going off on a tangent? Is it the confidence? Is it kind of looking out and seeing all these faces looking back at you? Could be any, or plus some. And going back to the strengths page, dyslexics and I know this person that's kind of written in, you're going to be fabulous at talking, because that's what we're really good at, is talking and communicating. And sometimes if you're when you're standing on stage, if you focus on something at the back of the room, and normally for me, I might go for a fire exit, a sign, or something at the back of the room, so you're looking above people's faces. I find sometimes as soon as I make eye contact, I start to think. Also, if you find yourself talking yourself out, and kind of that internal mind chatter that we have can be so powerful, because it can stop us in our tracks straight away. And if you find your internal mind chatter starting before you go up to talk or during talk, just take a moment and just, you can, in fact, you can try this now. Kind of get comfortable in your chair and put your feet on the floor. Put your feet on the floor and feel your feet beneath you, and stretch out your toes. And I appreciate if you're in heels or if you're on stage and you've got shoes, and this might be a bit more difficult, but you can still do it. And just for a moment, just bring yourself back to feeling the ground beneath your feet, and breathe, and then carry on. Because if you get a word, I'm very good at this, getting a word wrong, so saying the wrong thing, or reading and pronouncing it wrong, I can in a second go from I'm confident, I know what I'm talking about, to I'm going to get it all wrong. I'm going to stand up here and I'm just, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I shouldn't be doing this. And then imposter syndrome comes in, and then all these negative voices. We want to stop those negative voices coming in their tracks, because part of your role is public speaking and sharing and standing up in front of people. That's because you're really good at it. And so we just need your internal mind chatter to remain in that positive, which can be really, really difficult to do. So that grounding, just bring yourself back to, okay, I'm going to feel the ground beneath my feet, and I'm going to breathe. And also maybe a bit of an affirmation kind of thing. Maybe I sometimes say to myself, yep, I know what I'm talking about. I've got this. It's okay. And just almost arguing with that internal voice can be really useful as well.
Great, thank you. Those are good tips. I also always found sometimes like impersonating someone that you like really look up to as a speaker, and like acting like them can sometimes take the pressure off of personal, like your personal voice
Yeah.
when presenting. Great. So we have 3 questions thus far. Whoops. And so one was, do you do coaching with union reps? I'm thinking specifically for public sector workers, NHS, and teachers, etc.
Yes, in short, yes. I do support coaching. I do a lot of manager coaching, helping managers to understand what's going on for their staff, their neurodivergent staff. Yes, I have also coached union reps, and teachers, and also NHS. So yes, that's my long-winded answer of yes.
Great. Thank you.
Also something that can work quite well, if you have a line manager, and you have a line manager who maybe is really supportive, or a manager who there's a bit of reluctance and resistance. I do kind of co-coaching, where the individual, the employee, and also the line manager are co-coached at the same time. And that's helping both parties see things from the other person's perspective, but also helping the manager to see things just through a slightly different lens, with me there as, kind of, I suppose, think maybe between mediation and coaching, to really help find ways forward and ways of working where the relationship may be at a bit of a sticking point. Maybe you have somebody with 2 different neurodiversities, maybe there's that lack of understanding, maybe there's that lack of awareness, but that can be quite beneficial as well.
Great. Quick follow-up question to that is, have you found that there are any unions that are very good for neurodiverse staff?
So as with everything,
Hmm.
it's down to the individual. So there's some amazing companies out there who are absolutely flying the flag, saying we're dyslexic friendly, we're neurodivergent friendly, we're weaving through everything we do. And then there can be one person who maybe has had negative experiences or has biases, or maybe they don't understand neurodiversity, and that can be a sticking point. So I think having unions, and if you've got kind of a union who you think, I'm not seeing this working, let me know. I suppose because I do work with various different places, I can't really say, yes, this one's great and this one's rubbish.
Mhm.
Um, but I know across the industry there is a real in the UK. Okay, we're sticking with UK because obviously what's happening across the pond at the moment is slightly different. But in the UK, um, there is this real want to get it right, and it's that's encouraging, but there's still individuals within all of these organizations who we need to do more work with, who we need to help them to understand. We need to put them through things like awareness training. And I'm kind of going on about awareness training, but I personally think that every single manager, employee, volunteer needs to have basic awareness training, not just for staff, employees, but also for clients, internal customers, external customers, anyone they interact with. We need to have that basic understanding. And there's lots of individuals who haven't had that and who are, I suppose, letting that sounds a bit harsh. I was going to say letting their company down, but that sounds really harsh because they only know what they know, right? So, um, yeah, there is a, I don't know. Does that answer your question? I feel like
I
I've
think
gone on
that's
a
a
bit of a
good
tangent
start. No, no, no. We have a few more questions. I know we're limited on time, so I'll kind of rapid fire them for you to get them all. As a job seeker, is there any advice or resources to help with the application process, specifically relating to skills those of the role is asking you, for evidence against a job description or person specification?
Yes. So I could do a whole session on
Right.
interview stuff. So I will try and keep this really, really short. But the person that's asked the question, if you want to, in a moment, my next slide gives you a QR code. That will take you to my LinkedIn. If you want to ask me some questions on there, please do. More than happy to help you. So I would say, and I haven't touched on access to work, but access to work can be a really good, it's a government funded initiative, and it's for people who are looking for work and in work, and business owners as well. So it's quite a long process, it's quite a tricky application, but you can get support that way. So I would say access to work is one thing. I would say look at your strengths, do a real strengths exercise about just writing down all of your strengths. And that might be quite tricky, because for some reason we don't like talking about our strengths, do we? So we always go to, oh, I can tell you all the things that I find challenging, but actually our strengths. So look at your strengths. Take the job application, and if you can get it as a document, whether it's a PDF document, put it into Google LM. So Google LM, put it into that. It's a free web browser, and say to it, pull out the key things that they're asking for, and Google LM will tell you the key things they're looking for, and then you will know what they're looking for and what things to bring out in interview. Also, you need to kind of some work on your mindset could be really useful. So things like when you're sitting in the job interview or when you're on the way to the job interview, we don't want you to spiral. We don't want that internal mind chatter to start talking you out of. Our brains are great at doing that. So do something really simple like on the way to the interview, if it's an in-person interview, keep saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to look for 5 things that are green, I'm going to look for 10 things that are red. Give your brain something really, really simple to focus on that isn't anything negative. We want to keep it neutral. But
Great.
I've got loads of other tips, so please do. I'm very conscious of time. Head into LinkedIn and just ask me some questions on there, and I'll help you.
Great, thank you. Another question is, what organizations are around to support a person at university, even if they've already like tried this disability department? Are you aware of any like external, um, I guess maybe accountability or third
Yeah, so it depends what you're looking for. Is it with external support? Is it kind of understanding what assistive tech is available? Is it looking for jobs? So there's some neurodivergent recruitment consultants I can recommend. Is it assistive tech? Is it for coaching support? Kind of what element of some units? Some units are great, and some units just,
right.
unfortunately are. But yeah, if you want to drop me a message on LinkedIn or my email, I've got my email, I'm going to give it to you in a minute. Then I will happily share. So tell me kind of what is it, what type of sport are you looking for, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Great. So two more real quick. So do you have any
Before
advice
you do that,
for,
Grace, I'll come back to them, but just in case people need to leave,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
going to share with you,
Perfect.
and then we'll come back to those two
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, yeah.
So I've got some free resources that I'm more than happy to share with you. So I've got a conversation starter checklist, I've got a reasonable adjustment checklist, I've got a new University Insights form, and also support and resources. So if you want to drop me an email, there's my email address. Tell me what you want, and I'll send them over to you.
Great.
Also, that QR code will take you through to my LinkedIn. So I'll leave that up and then I'll answer the questions as well.
Perfect.
But just if
No, no,
anybody needs.
no. Great. Um, what does in terms of just losing train of thought and like thread when you get interrupted or distracted mid-sentence or mid-flow, do you have any tips on like how to n not lose your train of thought or how to get back to it?
So it's so tricky, isn't it? Isn't it so difficult? And then you go, oh gosh, I've lost my train of thought. And then you start to panic because you think, I need to remember. And then panic sets in. And as soon as we get into that panic stress place, it's a lot more difficult to get our train of thought back. So I would say just the grounding technique for your feet on the floor. Oh, I do this quite a lot with my thumbs. And that kind of just brings me back to a neutral place rather than being in a stress response or a panic that I'm not remembering things. It's just something that's just going to bring you back, and then just give yourself a moment, or just say, I've lost my train of thought, I'll come back to you. If you get interrupted, I always have a pencil and a notepad, always. And I always have that there, that if someone interrupts me, I say, oh, 2 ticks, and I just write down where I'm at or what I'm doing, so that I know that that's what I need to come back to. Or if you're doing something that's really, really important and you need time and to be uninterrupted, put some noise cancelling headsets on. Put a noise cancelling headset on and be very focused, so people will think you're on a call, or lock yourself away in a different room. Give yourself the boundaries if you need to focus on something. And I appreciate that isn't possible all the time. And sometimes if we're just having a conversation, we can lose train of thought. Have notes as well, have ideas. So I will always have, if I'm going into a meeting, or I sometimes do these talks where I don't have my slides, I'll just have some bullet points, so I know, okay, these are the things that I need to cover off, and I will just look at my bullet points. If you're in an interview, just going back to interview, if you're in an interview, take a pen and paper with you, um, and have some notes down. That's okay. Interviewers are absolutely fine with that. And if you come across an interviewer who isn't fine with that, would you want to work for them anyway? Because actually having notes is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I hope
Great,
that
thank
helps.
you. And the last question is more of a one general one for you is like, do you belong to a network of workplace coaches? And is there such thing? Just saying that love what you do and you're a great advert for these types of people in the profession.
Thank you. Um, no. So I've got a few profiles, I want to say, on various things like ADT, I can never say the word. It's ADT, itude. It's not attitude, it's kind of attitude magazine.
Hmm.
I've got there's my dyslexic brain in action there, right? So I've got a couple of profiles on there, but I'm an ICF accredited coach. So my accreditation is through the ICF, and I follow the ICF code of ethics. But no, in terms of kind of a neurodiversity dyslexic workplace coach, no, I do a lot of LinkedIn stuff, and I do a lot of networking, and I just just kind of, try and get my name out there that way.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your information and your presentation. It was super helpful. Obviously, we had so many questions and a lot of interest in this. So I think you really started a great conversation and got us thinking. So thank you so, so much for your presentation, attentiveness, and your spending a little bit of extra time with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions, then let me know.
Great. And we'll be sure to share around as soon as we can this presentation as well. Thanks everyone for joining. Going to end it. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.